stories. Please join me in welcoming our panelists, Sarah Montgomery, Karen and Katie Quinn, and Beverly Hart.
Who here is or has ever been a mother? When I brought up this topic with my good friend Kim St. Clair, she pointed out that once you're a mother, you're always a mother. To which I said, actually, some transgender people become mothers and then later become fathers or non-binary parents. Only a true friend like Kim St. Clair can put up with my actuallys. So to everyone who raised your hand, congratulations! You have been through matrescence. You may be wondering, what the heck does that mean? Matrescence describes the physical, emotional, and psychological process of becoming a mother for the first time. Matrescence sounds a lot like adolescence, and that's no coincidence because the two share a lot in common. Depending on how you become a mother, it may involve huge hormonal changes. Your body may change in ways that you didn't expect and might not enjoy. But more importantly, matrescence and adolescence both involve a major identity shift. In adolescence, we all struggled with questions like, what makes me me? Why are you you? And what happened to the kid I used to be? In matrescence, we grapple with questions like, who am I as a mother? And what the hell happened to that powerful, confident person I used to be? We get that adolescence is tough, and we expect teenagers to be moody and sullen with unpredictable sleep schedules. But we, and by we I mean the patriarchy, expect new mothers to feel happy, fulfilled, blissfully holding their new babies. If mothers feel any negative emotions about their babies or motherhood, they're bad mothers. Something is wrong with them. Now, I realize that this is patriarchal bullshit, but even so, that script has an effect on me. So when I became a mother, I was sleep-deprived, foggy-headed, and unsure of myself. Why did I feel like I had just been hit by a bus? Wasn't this what I always wanted? Why did I feel broken and a shell of the person I used to be? That was when another good friend, Janine Gelsinger, gave me the gift of the word matrescence. I finally had a word to describe what I was going through, this major identity struggle that nobody told me was coming. I had to acknowledge the person I used to be, to mourn the loss of that identity and that freedom, and form a new concept of who I would be as a mother. As Betsy Amanda put it in their podcast, Why Mommy Drinks, when you become a mother, you are blown apart and all the pieces of you are scattered around the galaxy. And you don't put them back together, but you reform them in a new shape while changing diapers, soothing a crying baby, and getting 3 non-consecutive hours of sleep a night. So that was half of the puzzle. And then I read Emily Nagoski's book, Come As You Are. If you take nothing from my sermonette, please read Come As You Are. I thought this book would change my sex life, but it changed my life. So in Come As You Are, she teaches about criterion velocity, which means we all have this little monitor in our brain, this judge that's watching everything we experience and do. And this monitor keeps track of 3 things: your goal, how much energy you're expending toward that goal, and how much progress you're making towards it. So let's say your goal is getting ready for work in the morning. Your monitor has an idea of when you should be out the door and what condition you should be in. When you get out the door 5 minutes earlier than your monitor expected, looking sharp, that monitor lights up and rewards you with dopamine. You can do anything. Today's gonna be great. But when you walk out the house 15 minutes late, hair sticking up at odd angles because you overslept and your toddler was running around the house naked, refusing to get dressed, that monitor gets frustrated. And when she's frustrated, the monitor can respond in 3 ways: anger, disgust, or anxiety. Anger. Brr, this is not how things are supposed to go. Disgust. Ugh, really? This again? And my own personal favorite and lifetime companion, anxiety. Oh shoot, I'm gonna be late again. What will my boss think? I used to be able to do this. What kind of mother am I that I can't get my kid dressed? Is the running around naked thing appropriate for this age? Should I Google it? I think I'll Google it. Oh no, wait, then I'll be even more late. So Emily proposes 3 ways to deal with a frustrated monitor. You can change the type of effort, change the expectation of how difficult the goal will be, or change the goal entirely. In this example, changing the effort might mean prepping as much as you can the night before, including dressing the toddler. Pro tip, all toddler clothes are essentially jammies. Changing the expectation might mean setting my alarm clock earlier because this whole getting ready thing is gonna take a while. But in my journey as a new parent, shifting the goal has been the real game changer. So instead of trying to get Hannah dressed as quickly and efficiently as possible, my goal may be to connect with her and share a little playtime before I go to work. And thanks to another awesome UU parent, Evie, my goal when Hannah is in a tantrum is to stay on the ground and watch her ride that emotional roller coaster instead of riding it with her. And thanks to Lois Fisher, I say screw the goal of getting my pre-baby body back. I am gonna celebrate and love this new post-baby body in all its jiggly glory. And each time I let go of an unrealistic patriarchal goal and replace it with one that better aligns with my values, I feel myself relax a little bit. I can trust my gut instinct and my kid. I can do this. So it's an ongoing journey. I don't think I'll ever really be done matrescing. Whenever I think I have it figured out, there's a new parenting stage to adjust to. Right now, we are in the whys and the whines. But having the vocabulary to name my struggle and some tools to navigate it has helped immensely. So I want to share these gifts with you in addition to the carnations. First, I give you the gift of the word matrescence to describe the process of becoming a mother. Second, I give you the gift of Emily Nagoski's book, Come As You Are. I've donated a copy to the UUCP library in the back, and I'm giving copies to all my OWL co-facilitators. It will blow your mind. Third, I give you the concept of the little monitor. What are the shoulds and the supposed-tos that your monitor is imposing on you? Do those goals serve you? If not, I encourage you to let go of those goals and create new ones that better align with your values and your reality. Let's all start with letting go of the idea that there are only 2 genders, but that there's a right way to be a woman, and being a woman means being a mother. Let's get rid of those. Lastly, I want to tell you what just about every mother wants to hear. You are doing a great job. When you see a mother in the wild struggling with a toddler having a meltdown or a barefoot baby crying at Target, tell that mom she's doing a great job. We get so much judgment from strangers, our family, and our little monitors. A kind word and a bit of compassion go a long way. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Karen and that's Katie. Actually, Katie's my understudy today. We've got a skit at the beginning and it was supposed to be my younger daughter Megan and I doing it, but Megan is unfortunately sick today, so Katie graciously stepped in at the last minute. And it's called On Motherhood in the 21st Century.
Mom, did you bring a lunch for me because I forgot to pack it? And don't forget, I have class after service today. Oh, and remember, when you pick me up, we have to also pick up Lauren because we're doing homework together. Also, can you help me with my Spanish homework?
Sure, sweetie. I've remembered to bring lunch just the way you like it and filled the car up with gas, and I can take you wherever you need to go. We will pick up Lauren and then bring her home, and I can help you later with your homework.
Oh, and Lauren will probably be staying for dinner, but she doesn't like any of the foreign stuff you make. So we'll probably pick up burgers or chicken nuggets, and I'll make those for her instead.
Okay, sure, sweetie.
Oh, and Mom, have you signed up for the parent-teacher conferences? It'll take about an hour and a half. Plus, I have a presentation due Friday, and I need all these supplies. Oh, let me remember. I need fake grass, wooden sticks, cloth, dogs, family figurines, paint, and sparkling stars, but a very specific kind. And I don't think I can do it as good as everybody else, so can you please help me?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me see what I can do. Somehow I also have to fit in your sister's week of classes and committees. Oh, yes, and I have date night with your dad tomorrow because we have to keep our marriage going in the right direction. And I have to show up at work present and correct and looking like it's the only important thing in the world. Oh gosh, I forgot you both have doctor's appointments on Wednesday morning, so I'll have to take time off work to do that and work late to make the time up, but I can't because I have choir. So then, because it's really important for me to keep up my self-care, isn't it?
Oh, and the cat threw up, and I really tried to clean it up, but it was so gross. So can you do that as well?
Well, I think if we hurry, after picking up Lauren, I might just have time to clean up the cat mess and the whole house mess, because we've got friends coming over for games, because we have to keep up our social life, right? And I've forgotten to exercise today. I just couldn't squeeze it in, but I'll do that again tomorrow, and I'll make a meal plan for the week too. Oh, you can help me with that, won't you? And listen carefully, my sweet daughter. It's great to be a woman in the 21st century. We have so many opportunities now and the right to work too. We don't get equal pay, but you know. And most women still run the majority of the household and the childcare, but you know. So many of us work part-time so that we can take care of everything else amidst it all. However, that does mean that we don't quite get ahead in our chosen careers, but you know. However, it will to give us time to take care of everything else and amidst it all make sure we do the most important thing of all, which is to bond correctly with our children. If we don't, all sorts of problems will lie in store for them, and it will be all our fault.
Oh, yes.
We have so many equal opportunities. So I've spent a great deal of time as a full-time mom. Megan is my second and youngest child. Katie's my oldest. And after Megan was born, more and more men and women would ask me what I did, even though I was walking along with a stroller and an infant, a stroller with a baby and an infant, and going to toddler groups, swimming groups, parenting groups, singing with mommy, library story, going to the playground, etc. Somehow, the role of teacher, mentor, carer, playmate, parent was no longer considered as valuable in and of itself. Yet, we all know how wonderful and important those connections with our children are. Progress towards equality between men and women has not led to women, or men for that matter, being valued and paid for being full-time parents. If they choose to, even though parenting is still considered to be one of the hardest jobs of all, it has led to women having the right to work, but in most cases, women still have to be the ones with the majority responsibility for the home and children, or be the ones who carry the most guilt or sense of loss about not being available to their child as much as they would like. Megan suggested I look up the roles of mothers in the countries I was brought up in, as it is, after all, International Women's Day, which is celebrated around the globe. So I did. I was curious about the role of mothers in other parts of the world. The main countries I lived in as a child prior to being sent to school in England were Indonesia, Brazil, Japan, and my own country, the Netherlands. I wondered how far they had come on the subject of equal rights between men and women. There are inconsistencies. In Brazil, a woman can be elected president. However, the latest government, what voted in last year, is conservative and is trying to instill traditional gender roles again. Brazil, shockingly, also has one of the highest rates of domestic violence, 263,000 reported cases of seriously injured women last year, and one of the highest rates of women killed in domestic violence cases, 1,200 last year. Moving on to Indonesia, a country where my dad was born and where I moved to twice as a young child, there is also progress toward equality in the sense that most women work, but they are expected to remain within gender-labored markets in order that they can still fulfill the role of being the main carer of the children and the household, or what they call the kodrat wanita. However well-educated young Indonesian women are, they are bound to continue negotiating their career aspirations within the boundaries of the kodrat wanita. In Japan, where my family lived for 5 years, women still do 5 times more unpaid tasks than men, such as household, childcare, and other activities. Yet nearly 35 years have passed since the law on equal opportunities. In July last year, the pass ratio for female students applying to Tokyo Medical University slightly exceeded that of their male peers. However, it was reported that at least 9 medical universities, including Tokyo Medical, were rigging results against female applicants because they know many women will leave the profession once they get married and have children. And it's not only men who hold these traditional gender-based biases, women do too. I had high expectations researching my own country, my own so-called liberal and progressive country, but it was short-lived. About half the women in the Netherlands do not earn enough money to finance themselves. Currently, women under 45 are more educated on average. However, in households with children, only 58% of women work full-time, while 93.5% of fathers continue working full-time. The stereotype of woman as carer still exists. Aside from all this information, I feel very fortunate to have been able to be home most of the time with my children. Although it was not entirely my choice for several years, I personally would not have changed that. However, had my marriage broken down, I would have been doomed. I'm lucky. I have a husband who supports whatever I choose to do. After a 2-year break, I've gone back to working, and it's a big adjustment to our family again. But I say, go women around the globe. Let us continue to force major adjustments whenever we choose to.
Good morning. I'm Beverly Hart. We're here today to celebrate the Day of the Woman. I'm sorry to say that we all know that we are here to celebrate a day that is not yet an actuality. We often don't even celebrate ourselves. There was a time in ancient history when women were revered, but with the development of the city-state, women began to lose that and begin to be viewed as objects, to be owned, used, and ruled. Starting in the late 1970s and through most of the 1980s, I worked part-time on a hotline that handled calls and arranged shelter for women who were victims of domestic violence, helped victims to deal with sexual assault, and assisted anyone who was contemplating suicide. When I started working for the nonprofit, I had no idea as to the number of women who suffered from domestic violence, sexual assault, and even emotional and psychological abuse. I knew that my marriage was not really happy, but after starting work on the hotline, I was able to name and recognize that I was in a marriage of emotional and psychological abuse. While working at the crisis center, there are still some stories that haunt me more than 30 years later. There was the woman whom I will call Anne, and from whom I received a call late one night. Anne was a trauma room nurse. She talked about working with many women who came into the hospital for emergency treatment that had been physically traumatized by a domestic partner. She stated that no one knew that she was a victim because her spouse knew where to hit her so that the bruises would not show. During the conversation, she was crying and talked about having a gun placed against her head and told many times that if she was to leave, she would die. Anne stated that she was terrified to stay and terrified to leave. She was especially frightened because if she used her Social Security number, her husband would find her the way that he had found her twice before when she had left. Because you see, her husband was a United States Marshal and able to trace her no matter where she went, unless she no longer used her nurse's training or her Social Security number, which meant that she could not easily support her children. I truly wonder what happened to Anne and if she was ever able to escape her marriage. As I listened to stories from women who were being abused, I felt anger when I would hear comments from others, such as, quote, "I would not stand for any abuse," or "I don't understand why women don't just leave," unquote. Women don't leave for many reasons. Sometimes it's because they grew up in a household where violence was a regular occurrence and they have never known peace. Sometimes they don't leave because they have been so psychologically traumatized, there's no belief that they could survive. And sometimes, like Anne, they have no idea how they could truly escape and support themselves and their children. The more I listened to these stories, I thought of my own life and did not feel that I could really discuss my situation with friends. But fortunately, because of where I was working, I had access to free counselors. Eventually, I did leave my husband and I became very poor, but emotionally a free woman. Only once had I been shoved, but when I brought home a shotgun, that never occurred again. This was just a plea to all of those here to be patient, understanding, and less critical of others, especially the women. Sometimes the anger, depression, fearfulness, or post-traumatic stress disorder that you see is because of their home situation. Remember that according to national statistics, 1 in 4 women experience intimate partner physical violence, which may consist of pushing, slapping, choking, burning, shoving, or beating. 1 in 10 women have been raped by an intimate partner. It is estimated that in the United States, 20 people every minute are abused by an intimate partner. The National Domestic Hotline estimates that women leave 7 times before leaving permanently. We must listen to others and not judge, and don't question their leaving and returning. Remember that the most dangerous time for a woman to be killed is when she is preparing to leave or has recently left. In another time and another place, their story could be your story. To those here today, we must speak up, lift up, and rise up. If you're able, I'm going to ask the women in this audience to stand, and others can join in but remain seated. I'm going to make a statement, and I want you to repeat the first line of the song by Helen Reddy, which goes, "I'm a woman, hear me roar." This cry is going to be for the women who are trapped in abusive relationships. I am woman, hear me roar. This cry is for women who are having to endure female circumcision. I am woman, hear me roar. This cry is going to be for women who are in institutions, shelters, and refugee camps without adequate sanitary supplies. I am woman, hear me roar. And this cry is for women who are forced to be sex workers. I am woman, hear me roar. And this cry is for women who are married off as child brides. I am woman, hear me roar. And this cry is for women who are forcibly separated from their children. I am woman, hear me roar. This cry is for women who are not allowed to be educated. I am woman, hear me roar. And remember that all people are on this earth only because of women. I am woman, hear me roar. I am woman, hear me roar. I am woman, hear me roar. Thank you.